Welcome to my channel Cella Buzz. Elvis Presley was born. Elvis Aaron Presley on January 8, 1935 in Tupelo, Mississippi to Vernon and Gladys Presley. From these small beginnings in a tiny two-room house, Elvis's life would grow into one of the most amazing and important careers in music history. His early childhood was shaped by gospel music, church songs, and the rich sounds of country and blues music that were all around him in the American South. These early music experiences played a big role in creating his special sound, a mix of rhythm, soul, gospel, and country that would later amaze the world. Elvis's rise to fame started in the mid-1950s when he recorded his first single, That's All Right, at Sun Studio in Memphis, Tennessee. This recording, which mixed blues and country in a way that was completely new, right away caught people's attention and started a cultural revolution. Within a few years, Presley had become a famous name. His exciting performances, charming stage presence, and signature hip moves set the standard for modern rock and roll. TV appearances on shows like The Ed Sullivan Show introduced Elvis to millions of Americans, many of whom were amazed by his magnetic mix of voice, rhythm, and body movements. Critics and parents were split. Some saw him as a revolutionary force challenging social rules, while others were shocked by his bold dance style. But no matter what people thought, Elvis's popularity grew, making him an icon. Throughout the 1960s, Elvis expanded his influence beyond music into movies, starring in over 30 films such as Jailhouse Rock, Love Me Tender, and Blue Hawaii. While his movies often showed his singing talents and on-screen charm, they also helped to make more people around the world love him, turning him into an international superstar. Despite the business nature of many of his movies, Elvis stayed deeply passionate about music, continuing to release hit singles and albums that connected with fans of all ages. His 1968 comeback special, a TV event featuring a raw and personal performance, reminded the world of his amazing vocal abilities and exciting stage presence. Musically, Elvis's legacy is unmatched. He created a sound that changed popular music and influenced generations of artists across styles from rock and country to pop and soul. Songs like Hound Dog, Suspicious Minds, and Can't Help Falling in Love remain timeless classics, showing his remarkable vocal range, emotional power, and ability to share universal human experiences through music. His artistic courage broke barriers of race and style, introducing wider audiences to the rhythms of African American music and challenging the boundaries of mainstream culture. Elvis's impact was so strong that decades after his death, today's musicians continue to say he was a main influence, making sure that his artistic spirit lives on in countless interpretations and performances worldwide. On May 1, 1967, Elvis Presley, already an international music icon whose fame had changed popular culture, married Priscilla Beaulieu in a ceremony held at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. The wedding was a highly publicized event that drew big media attention. Priscilla, who had met Elvis at age 14 when he was stationed in Germany with the U.S. Army, was just 21 at the time of their marriage, while Elvis was 32. Their union symbolized a joining of two very different worlds, the young woman from a more normal middle-class background and the global superstar whose life was under constant public watching. Despite the outward glamour and apparent fairy tale nature of the marriage, it was also marked by challenges, including the pressures of fame, intense media watching, and the difficulties of keeping a relationship in the often isolating world of celebrity. After nearly 6 years together, these pressures, along with personal differences in the strains of Elvis's demanding career, led to their divorce in January 1973, ending a marriage that had captured public imagination, but struggled privately. Elvis and Priscilla's only child, Lisa Marie Presley, was born on February 1, 1968, adding a new dimension to Elvis's life. Her birth brought huge joy to both parents and gave Elvis a new sense of responsibility. Lisa Marie would grow up surrounded by the legacy of her father's huge career, living in the shadow of one of the most famous musicians in history, while also finding her own identity. Following in her father's footsteps, Lisa Marie eventually pursued a career in music, releasing albums that reflected her own style, but inevitably drew comparisons to Elvis. Her journey as a singer, mother, and public figure has been connected with the larger story of her father's influence, both musically and culturally, cementing the Presley family's ongoing impact on American pop culture. Following the divorce, Elvis's personal struggles became more obvious, particularly with his use of prescription drugs. His reliance on a variety of medications, including sedatives, stimulants, and painkillers, got worse after the end of his marriage, contributing to both physical and emotional decline. The pressures of keeping his career going, coupled with the emotional toll of personal losses and mounting public expectations, made his dependency on drugs stronger. This addiction affected his performances, behavior, and health. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, is widely remembered for his groundbreaking music, magnetic stage presence, and lasting influence on popular culture. Yet, despite his legendary status, Elvis was not immune to personal dislikes when it came to his peers in the music industry. While many assume he admired most singers of his era, a few performers sparked his open dislike. Here are 6 singers that Elvis reportedly could not stand, and his honest comments about them will surprise you. Pat Boone. Elvis had a complicated relationship with Pat Boone. While Boone covered many songs originally performed by African-American artists, including some that Elvis loved, Elvis reportedly felt that Boone watered down the music and lacked realness. He once said, "Boone is too clean, too polished. He sings nice, but there's no soul, no real feeling in what he does." Elvis valued raw emotion and energy in performance, and Boone's smooth, sanitized style clashed with his own musical ideals. This dislike was not rooted in personal hate, but rather in artistic principles. Frank Sinatra. Elvis initially looked up to Sinatra, but over time, he grew frustrated with the older singer's criticism of rock and roll. Sinatra famously called rock music savage and uninspired, which reportedly made Elvis angry. Presley allegedly said, "Sinatra acts like he invented singing. He has no idea what it means to really connect with the people." The tension between their musical philosophies, a clash of traditional pop versus rebellious rock, made Elvis wary of Sinatra, despite mutual professional respect. Tom Jones. Tom Jones's powerful, loud vocal style also drew Elvis's critique. Presley reportedly felt that Jones relied too much on vocal theatrics rather than genuine emotional expression. According to accounts, Elvis said Jones is loud and impressive, but there's no heart behind it. He's all show, no soul. For Elvis, performance was about being real, vulnerable, and connecting. A singer could have technical brilliance, but without real emotion, Presley found it hollow. Johnny Cash. It might surprise many to hear that Elvis had issues with Johnny Cash. Both icons shared roots in country and gospel music. Elvis reportedly felt that Cash could be too dark and moody, even brooding in both music and behavior. He allegedly commented, "Cash is too serious. Life's short. Music should make you feel, not weigh you down." While Presley respected Cash's talent, he found the singer's somber tone incompatible with his own style of energetic and joyful performance. Louis Armstrong. Elvis admired Armstrong's talent hugely, yet he reportedly had reservations about the way some contemporaries praised Armstrong in context Elvis found fake. Presley is said to have remarked, "Armstrong can blow that horn like nobody else, but people pretend they understand him and they don't." This was less a hatred of Armstrong himself, and more a dislike for the fake admiration from the industry. Elvis valued honesty and artistry above all, and he could be sharply critical when he felt people were pretending to appreciate something. Jerry Lee Lewis was another singer who clashed with Elvis on personal and professional levels. Presley reportedly said, "Lewis is wild, sure, but sometimes wild for the sake of being wild." Elvis Presley's opinions of his fellow performers reveal his intense dedication to being real in music. He could admire talent while still being critical of what he saw as artistic shortcomings. These 6 singers, Pat Boone, Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Louis Armstrong, and Jerry Lee Lewis, represent a range of styles and types, yet each failed in some way to align with the king's personal vision of what music should be: soulful, honest, and deeply felt. On the day Elvis Presley tragically passed away, an autopsy was done right away, aiming to find the exact cause of his early death. Memphis medical examiner Jerry Francisco, speaking publicly while the autopsy was still happening, made a statement that would later become highly controversial. He announced that the immediate cause of death was cardiac arrest and strongly declared that drugs played no role in Presley's death. At the time, his words were taken by some as an attempt to preserve Presley's public image or shield the details of his personal struggles. However, as later investigations and analyses would reveal, music historian and Presley biographer Peter Guralnick later emphasized that contrary to Francisco's claim, drug use was heavily involved in Presley's death. The complexity of the situation became clear when pathologists doing the autopsy guessed that Elvis might have experienced anaphylactic shock triggered by codeine pills he had received from his dentist. This detail was particularly alarming because Presley was known to have a mild allergy to codeine, raising the possibility that even prescribed medications could have had fatal consequences in combination with his overall health condition. 2 months after the autopsy, the detailed laboratory reports provided a far more sobering picture. These reports revealed that Presley's body contained a shocking array of pharmaceutical substances, with one analysis documenting 14 drugs in Elvis's system, 10 in significant quantity. The concept of polypharmacy, using multiple medications at the same time, was strongly suggested as the primary factor in his death, highlighting the dangerous interplay of prescription drugs and the vulnerabilities of an already fragile body. 1979, Cyril Wecht, a respected forensic pathologist, had reviewed all of the available evidence and concluded that the combination of depressants, drugs that slow down the central nervous system, had resulted in Presley's accidental death. This perspective was echoed, albeit with nuance, by forensic historian and pathologist Michael Baden, who described Presley's death as complicated. Baden explained that while Elvis had lived with an enlarged heart for many years, which made him particularly susceptible to cardiovascular issues, the presence of long-term drug use dramatically increased the risk of a fatal event. He further noted that diagnosing Presley's condition was inherently challenging and ultimately involved a degree of clinical judgment, reflecting the intricate and multifaceted nature of his health problems. Beyond the immediate circumstances of his death, a careful examination of Elvis's body provided an even broader understanding of his chronic health struggles. The autopsy confirmed that Presley had suffered for years from multiple serious medical conditions. As the pathologists continued their examination, they found clear evidence that Presley's body had been consistently exposed to a heavy and prolonged regimen of drugs over the course of many years. Hospital records supported these findings, documenting multiple admissions for drug detoxification and methadone treatment, indicating that Presley had repeatedly attempted to manage or reduce his dependence on prescription medications. These records painted a portrait of a man caught in a relentless cycle, struggling with chronic illness, relying on potent medications for relief, and ultimately succumbing to the dangerous consequences of long-term polypharmacy.